I want to take a second just kind of to explain some of the stuff I was talking about yesterday. It says, I talked about like 6 different things that would help deal through, and as I was walking through separation anxiety, I thought that maybe I'd spend time on each point. So the last stage one I thought was called documenting the process. The first one was documenting the process. I had a start, middle, and end, and pretty much it's called, I went through an explanation of that there is a thing called adult separation anxiety, and that's kind of a diagnosable type thing. I think what I was going through was just I was just missing my kids really, and missing the time we had together. And so, but just to explain it more, just to spend more time with that, I want to just talk to you about a few things. So let's go for a walk, shall we? I talked about documenting the entire process. Like one thing I did from the very beginning was I tried to figure out what it was, the feeling I was trying to feel, or feeling with in terms of like, spending time with my kids and missing them as they were going away. And so the thing was like, that's something that, each of us has to come to grips with at some point, and I wanted to just kind of spend time. I did 6 points of these, and I wanted to understand the point that when you are actually going through this, it's good to document the feelings you had. I remember having the feelings of sadness, the feelings of wondering what's going to be like when they return, the feelings of some of my kids actually did maybe things like where they made like little cards for me and stuff like that and they read. So every time they give me a candy or a snack, that was something to help me along the way too. We send packages to each other and letters and sculptures and just pretty much candy and stuff through the mail and supplies they needed. But for the most part though, we found that it was just spending time together and documenting it was actually one of the most important things. So we documented the beginning, we documented the middle, and then when we got together, we documented a celebration of everything we did in terms of we didn't chance to sit down and actually go through it. We're still working through that because there's so much details. My daughter was spending time talking to me yesterday about some of the things that she went through. But for the most part though, when I was going through, I told you so you guys were able to see it from 1 through episode 64, all the stuff that we went through. Let me proceed on out. I just want to do a nice quiet place with no music in the background, just the thoughts about what we're going through. But remember, the first one was called pretty much document the process. Was number 1, document the process, is the start, the middle, and the end of it, and to see the changes. That's something very important. I think, it's kind of like a record keeping to see how you grow too as you're going through this. So it's kind of like, you can't really change things that happen outside of you as much as you want to. You have actions that you can do, and then there's attitudes you can have, but for the most part though, it's your attitude and your transformation through the process is what I was documenting. I was going through this, so it was one of those things where as I was the more I understood this, the more I realized that it's a process and I had to work through it, and I had to write it down as a documentation to see how things were going and how I was growing through the process. So you too, whenever you go through a situation, but definitely I found this topic to be very relevant to many people, so many people are like this, so please feel free to write me in the comments what you think about this and documenting the process.